All right, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our March general membership meeting and Mentor of the Month. My name is Master Sergeant Parson. I'm the Sergeant at Arms for the top three. It's my pleasure to announce retired Senior Master Sergeant Damian Van Devender, who's going to be our Mentor of the Month this month. He's a former production superintendent for the 330th Recruiting Squadron. Van, how you doing?
I was any better, I'd be twins. How you guys doing?
Doing good. So I'm gonna turn it over to you, and then we'll facilitate any questions in the chat afterwards, and then from there we'll transition into our general membership meeting. So the floor is yours.
Sounds good. Can everybody hear me all right? Good volume. Awesome. So first of all, thanks for having me, guys. Chief Dixon asked me the other night at Darter's going away party if I could help out, and I'm absolutely happy to do so. To give you guys a little bit of an idea of what I've been doing since I retired from the Air Force, I started out working for a company called Fusion Cell, and Fusion Cell is a company, the staffing company that helps veterans find jobs in the civilian world. So, companies will say, hey, we need help recruiting these positions. They come to us and we try to find a veteran that's also a good fit for the position to fill that role. A big part of that role for me was assisting transitioning veterans out of the military. So I got a lot of training in that, got to work with a lot of really good professionals in the civilian world that have been doing it for a long time. And they got a lot of practice at it too. So, big piece of what I did was just really helping people not make some of the mistakes that a lot of veterans make when they leave the military. So I'll take a little bit and just kind of talk to you about a little bit of good advice that can help set you up for a good civilian career. And then I'll take any questions that you guys have, and hopefully I hit the mark of what you guys are looking for here. So first and foremost, guys, the biggest mistake that a lot of veterans make when they're leaving the military is they focus too much on one thing, which is dollar signs. You go, hey, I'm going to try to find the job that's going to pay me the most money, and I'm going to get rich on being a civilian. And at the end of the day, there's a reason why 80% of veterans quit the first job that they get post-military before they even complete a year at that company. And it's because they realize through that time that, hey, I'm not getting fulfilled from this job. The money is great, but it's not everything. You got to remember that, especially if you're retirement age, right? So most of the people in the top three are probably going to retire from the military, I'm going to assume. So that's why I'm going to base my talk around this. But if you're going to retire, you're going to get a retirement. If you do things the right way with your VA, you're probably going to get a decent disability on top of that. Let's say you got to 100%. Or 80% or 90%, just do the math on what that's going to give you just to wake up. So for example, a senior master sergeant with 22 years, I know a guy, senior master sergeant with 22 years in the service and 100% VA disability, you wake up and make $75,000 a year just to wake up. Right. So whatever job you get is just additional on top of that. So that's probably going to be pretty close to what you were making in the military. So money is going to be good. Even if you get a job making 30 grand a year, money is still going to be good. If you need to make $200,000 or $300,000 a year, for whatever reason, then obviously you want to figure out, if that's your highest priority or not. But the first step really to having a successful transition is figuring out what your priorities are. To give you an example, my priorities were to spend more time at home. My 17 years in AFRS, I worked a lot. I always had zones where I had to work really late. And then, my last 3 years as a pro soup, I was TDY 200 plus days a year. So, didn't get a lot of time with the family. When I was home with the family, I was still working. You guys know how it is. You come home, you kiss the babies, and you kiss the wife, and then you get back on the laptop after eating dinner, and you probably got a bunch of work to do after that. And that was the life I lived for 17 years in AFRS. And so big priority for me was more time with my family, more time to go to soccer games and attend all the functions with the kids and just go out with the family. So figure out what your priorities are. Is it more time at home? Is it job satisfaction? That's a big piece, right? Because the mission in the civilian world is completely different from the mission that we're used to having in the military, which is, hey, we're serving our country. We all understand that every little thing that we do plays a role in the success of the Air Force as a whole. And then when you get into the civilian world, it's all about dollars and cents. And a lot of times you're going to work with a lot of people who don't really care about the success of the company. They don't really care about the success of the team. They care about, I have to show up at 9 and I get to leave at 5. And then as long as I don't get in trouble between those hours, leave me alone. And so, no, a lot of people don't go the extra mile. If an extra task needs to be done, they'll say, hey, that's not in my job description. And so there's some job fulfillment issues that a lot of veterans deal with as well. So really figure out what your priorities are. Is it job fulfillment? Is it time at home with your family? Is it money? Is it freedom? Is it autonomy? Is it whatever it is? Sit down with your spouse and your kids and try to figure that part out first, right? So once you figure that part out, then the next step is figure out how to get there. What's going to give you that in the civilian world? So do a lot of research, talk to people. LinkedIn, if you're not on LinkedIn, you're behind the curve. Get on LinkedIn, build your network, and learn how to use that platform because it is the most amazing platform for professionals, especially if you're trying to land a job and network with other professionals. So, you can get on LinkedIn and you can go to the search bar at the top. And once you figure out what kind of job you want to get into and what kind of company you want to work for, or what industry you want to be in, you can research people that are in those industries. You can look at their profile. You can see what education they have. You can see what kind of certifications they have. You can see what their experience background is in. And you can even reach out to them and ask to talk to them. Ask them, if they like their job, how they like their company, what you can expect to make, as a starting individual in those companies and in those positions. So do a lot of research on LinkedIn, speak to industry experts, follow industry experts. When you connect with people, follow them. And when they make a post about something that you have knowledge of, don't just click the like button. Don't just say, I like this. Put a thoughtful and informative response on that post that's also going to drum up more conversation. And the reason why you do this is, a lot of us are becoming a lot more smart in social media, right? AFRS is getting really good into the social media stuff. A lot of our recruiters are getting really good at that, and for good reason. And the big thing is the algorithm. And so when they post something on LinkedIn, they are trying to get their algorithm to grow so that more people will see it, and it's free advertisement for the same reason that we do it as recruiters or for any other advertisement purposes. And so you're assisting that individual with their algorithm by putting a thoughtful response in there that they'll then respond to, and then you can respond back to and just continue the conversation within their comment timeline. And what that's going to do for you is it's going to make you memorable. It's going to make you credible. And it's also going to build a good connection with somebody that is going to start tagging you in future posts. And so every single person that individual is connected with, once you build that algorithm, is going to see your name. They're going to see your thoughtful responses, and you're going to build credibility. You're going to position yourself as a industry expert in the field. And this is all really important. It's going to come in down the line a little bit further into my conversation with you. But when you're waking up in the morning, everybody says, well, I don't have time to deal with LinkedIn. And I call bullcrap on that. Everybody's swiping through Facebook and Instagram and everything else. You have time to get on LinkedIn for 5 minutes in the morning and just find 5 people to connect with within your industry or the industry that you want to get into, and just connect with them. Maybe you shoot them a little remark or a little comment when you connect with them. I personally don't think that is necessary unless you're connecting with that individual for a specific reason. If you're just trying to grow your network, just connect with people. Some of the best people to connect with and follow, Michael Quinn. If you guys aren't following a guy named Michael Quinn on LinkedIn, he is phenomenal. He is a LinkedIn superstar. The guy's job is pretty much to post on LinkedIn now. He's a retired sergeant major from the Army, and he gives out phenomenal advice on transitioning and how to utilize LinkedIn as a great platform for your transition and to help you land a job after the military. So definitely follow Michael Quinn, and there's some other folks in there, but he's my favorite one. He's so popular you can't even connect with him anymore. Now all you can do is follow him. But if you make comments on his posts and they're thoughtful and informative, he'll respond back and he'll remember who you are, and he's extremely well connected as well. So then, once you start growing your network and you start getting an idea of what the civilian world's like, what it's going to be required of you to get the job in the industry that you're trying to get into and in the locations that you're trying to get into, now you got to start looking at doing a resume. Military folks, we suck at building resumes because we're used to writing EPRs, right? We're used to, going to promotion boards where they look 10 years back at our career or maybe even further than that. And so and we've done so many different things that we justifiably are proud of, that we want to tell everybody everything and make them go, wow, we got to hire this guy because when he was an airman, he did blah, 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 blah. They don't give a crap about that. Okay. Your resume should be focused on just the job that you're applying for. Okay. So if you were a QA guy, on F-16s, but you're applying for a recruiting position, don't put the QA stuff on F-16s on your resume. It's irrelevant and it's a waste of space, and they're probably just going to shuffle it off into a pile of other stuff of the maybes or the no's, right? Because the reality of the civilian world, especially right now, is if, when I was posting jobs, I would have 200 applicants over a weekend for that job. And so we rely very heavily on the applicant tracking systems to help minimize the amount of work that we have to do. And if your resume doesn't match the job description at a very high percentage, that's keyword for keyword, then you're going to be rated a lot lower on that list of names when the recruiter opens it up on Monday morning and starts shuffling through them. And they're really only looking for about 4 people to give to their hiring manager. So 4 out of 200 people are going to make it to that point, and that applicant tracking system is going to rank them for them, and then they're going to review them and maybe reach out to you, talk to you for a little bit. But for the most part, it's all about getting through that applicant tracking system first and foremost, right? So you want to match the job description. If they use the word lead and you have the word manage, or vice versa, you want to make those changes on your resume. You want to research the company and see, like, what are their values? What is their mission? If you follow any of their folks on there, reach out to them and ask them, hey, what kind of stuff is important in the kind of people that they hire there? And if you have those qualities, make sure you highlight those on your resume. But you don't want your resume to be extremely long, because the initial recruiter is going to look at it for about 20 to 30 seconds. And that's about it. He or she's going to rely on that applicant tracking system to tell him or her that you match the job description to a high degree. And then they're going to look for, okay, I'm just going to validate this. I'm going to validate the education. I'm going to validate that. Okay, this person matches, put them in the yes pile. This person's a no pile, no pile, no pile. Can't tell you how many times I had 25 people that were personal trainers apply for a director of talent management position, and they never even recruited a single person in their life. So a lot of that kind of fluff goes into a lot of those online job applications. And so they've got to filter through that stuff. And then you want to speak about in your resume, a lot of folks will take a job description and then they'll just copy and paste it in there. So I did, my responsibilities were to do this, 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 and this. Okay, great. Everybody who does that job has those responsibilities. What did you do and how well did you do it? Right. So now your EPR experience is actually going to benefit you. Right. So you don't only want to tell them what you did, but you want to tell them what kind of success you had at that and what impact it made on your organization or company. And our company is obviously the Air Force. So a lot of the numbers that you have in your EPRs, the way that we write impact and stuff like that on EPRs, that is exactly how you should write your bullets within your job descriptions on your resume. All right. So keep it short, keep it clean and easy to digest. If it's crazy fonts and all this other stuff are really small because you're trying to fit so much stuff in there, a lot of recruiters will just get frustrated and they'll toss it off to the side. So be direct, be quick and to the point, keep it clean and make it easy to digest, but you also want to leave them wanting to know more. Right. So we don't want to put so much information on our resume that they feel like they know everything that they need to know and they have 4 other candidates that are better. You want to put all the really hard hitting stuff on there and have them go and, man, I want to interview this guy or girls to figure out, is this the right person or not? Because so far I'm pretty impressed, but there's some stuff I want to know. And what other way to know those things than to bring you in for an interview, right? Resumes, a lot of folks go, hey, I'm going to have someone write my resume for me. I'm going to pay them $500 to do that. That's not necessary. How pretty your resume is, unless you're a, lieutenant colonel or a colonel and you're going for a director level position, you don't need one of those prettied up resumes. You just need a resume that's going to tell the hiring manager what they want to know so that they can bring you in for an interview. So it doesn't have to be super fancy. And a lot of times those super fancy ones will actually not get through the applicant tracking system. So some of the formatting that they do, some of the pictures that they like to put in there, things like that, actually mess with the applicant tracking system so that when it pushes through, it shows you as a 0% match, or it'll not even open at all. It'll just say the file's corrupted or something like that. And you'll never know if your file actually made it through there. So keep it really simple when you get to that point, okay? Again, with the resume stuff, You know, if somebody wants to reach out to me and say, hey, Damien, you want to take a look at my resume and just give me an idea of if it's on the right track, or give me some feedback on how I can strengthen it up, you know, you guys will have my email address at the end of this. Actually, I think it was on the announcement that CJ sent out. Shoot me an email, send me your resume. I'll take a quick look at it and give you some tips on it to try to help you out. But the ultimate goal with how you want to set yourself up is that you hope to be able to land a job without even having to submit a resume. And the people that have strong networks, people that are well connected, are the kinds of people that don't have to submit a resume for a job. They become an internal company referral. And that's the ultimate goal to the LinkedIn thing, is you want to become an internal company referral. And here's some numbers that might help you with that. Only 19% of people that land a job in the civilian world get that job by applying to an online job board. Only 19%. And the majority of that 19% is for low-level customer service, low-level recruiter positions, things like that. Once you start getting into management level, word of mouth is huge, and it plays a massive role in your opportunity and your chances of getting hired for a position. And so who you know is way more important than what your resume says and how you applied for that job, okay? So first and foremost, grow your network, but grow it with the right kinds of people in the right industry, and with and within the right companies that you're looking to get into. Industry experience is extremely important in the civilian world to a lot of companies. Our industry in the military is military. So unless you're trying to go for a government contractor position where you're flipping around, throwing on a polo shirt and doing the same job as a civilian for the Air Force, then you may or may not have industry experience. And that's something that you have to prepare yourself for, is understanding that, hey, they're looking for example, 10 years of experience in the construction industry, let's say. Well, unless you were a construction worker in the Air Force, then you're probably not going to have that industry level experience. And you may have to take a step down to get a job within that company, but they promote a lot faster than the military does. You get in there, you show them what you're all about, and a lot of folks get promoted quickly and move up the ladder quickly. So you may have to prepare yourself for that fact, okay? When you're communicating with people on LinkedIn, this was something that drove me crazy. Don't just reach out to people with a 3-page paragraph and ask them for stuff. Reach out to people and say, hey, you know, I really enjoy watching you or following you on LinkedIn. I think you have a lot of really good stuff, and I really enjoy what your company is about. Just to give you a little background on me, here's what I do. If we can ever collaborate on ideas or share ideas with each other, I'm happy to help you, and I hope you're happy to help me as well. Something along those lines. It's a give and take relationship that you're trying to build with these folks, but you got to start this early. If you're starting this 3 months before you retire, then you're kind of in desperation mode, and you're going to need to ask for help. And that's not the position that you really want to be in. You want to start this 1.5 years, 2 years before you retire. Spend a good year doing nothing but offering help and giving good advice and building your credibility. And then when it comes time to apply for a job, and you've already been connected with and spoke with several people within the company that you're applying for, once you apply for that job, you reach out to those individuals that you're connected with and you say, hey, I've really enjoyed everything, all of our conversations. I think XYZ company is exactly what I'm looking for, and here's why. And just to give you a heads up, I just applied for a position at your company. That positions that individual to then go, hang on a minute, let me refer you. They're incentivized, in most companies, they're incentivized to provide referrals to the tune of thousands of dollars in some cases that they'll get if they refer somebody that ends up becoming a hire for that company. And the reason why is, if their internal recruiters can't handle the work that they have or can't find somebody, they'll hire a company like Fusion Cell to find them. And if Fusion Cell finds somebody for those individuals, you're talking anywhere from a $10,000 to $50,000 fee for us to do that. So they would rather pay an internal company person $2,000 to refer somebody than pay my company or my old company $20,000 or $30,000 to find them. And so that, you know, they're still saving money in the long run. And these employees at that company are heavily incentivized to provide referrals. So you want to become that internal company referral. You want to set yourself up and position yourself as an expert you want to offer help and guidance to these individuals as much as you possibly can. If you just come at them asking for stuff, they get that constantly, and it's just going to be white noise, and they're probably going to delete you or just ignore your comments altogether. Okay. But at the end of the day, the civilian world is pretty great in most cases. I'll never forget the first morning that I woke up naturally, not to an alarm clock, not to stress keeping me up all night. I just slept really good and woke up naturally and didn't feel this stress that is constant on us. And it's a pretty awesome thing. So, and the money's great too. Don't get me wrong. The money's great. I mean, if you land a job making 75 grand and you add that to the other 75 grand, you're making 150K just to wake up and do an easy job at the end of the day. Right. That's kind of my big spiel on how to successfully transition and what kind of things to look for. And I'm happy to open it up for questions right now.
All right. Thank you. That was honestly, Van, that was a phenomenal presentation. And I know, like you said, our target audience here in the top 3, you're looking probably anywhere from a year to 5 years out for people getting out. So this is perfect timing for this audience. Let me pull up the chat and let's see. One question, can you speak to, do you have any experience with the automated systems that look at those keywords for job applications?
Yeah, I do.
All right.
And then what else would you like to know about?
So I guess I'm assuming from the question, what can you tell everyone as far as tips with those systems? What are some of the things to avoid? What are some of the things to try and target to avoid getting kind of thrown out of those systems before even making it to that next stage?
Yeah, so I kind of hit on it a little bit earlier, but tailoring your resume is the biggest piece of that, right? So make sure, number one, formatting isn't jacked up. Any person that would reach out to me and ask me for help, I would say, hey, send me your resume. I'll take a look at it. The very first thing that I would do is I would load it into my applicant tracking system against a job and see if it came through. I would say probably 30% of them wouldn't even make it through. Because people are trying to put formatting in there, or maybe they use the same one that they were trying to job the USA Jobs applicant tracking system with, where they hide the keywords in the background so it still gets through it. That kind of stuff doesn't work anymore. Make sure your formatting is simple. You can make it look good without putting a whole bunch of banners and pictures and setting stuff off in the back and all that other kind of crazy stuff, because that just messes up the reader on your applicant tracking system. Okay, so number one, that. Number two, tailoring your resume is going to take time, right? So you don't want to throw your resume at 100 different jobs. All right. You want to throw your resume at 2 or 3 jobs that you really want and spend all the time and effort that you need to make sure that that resume is as tailored to the job description as possible. Because what we do is we take that job description and we load it against that job in the applicant tracking system, and all those words in that become keyword matches, right? Or keywords that you're trying to match against those resumes. So something as simple as using the word manage versus lead because it matches the job description can play a big role in what percentage you match, right? And also making sure that you don't put stuff on there that doesn't matter, right? So if half your resume, if the back page of your resume is all stuff that you did pre-recruiting and you're applying for a recruiting job, it's wasted space that you could have used to tell them how awesome you are at recruiting. So focus all your effort on that. They can learn all about your career once they hire you or when they bring you in for an interview. But right now, you're just trying to get past that point and get to the interview. So read those job descriptions. Make sure that the wording that they're using is matched in there. Make sure your headliner, your top paragraph where you tell them a little bit about yourself, is speaking to how you're going to be a good fit for the company. Okay, so research their values, research their mission. Look at just Google them and go to new and click on news and see some of the new things that they're doing. And if there's something new that they're doing that you have experience in that you could provide value to, speak to that, right? In that top paragraph. You don't want it to be a gigantic paragraph, but just enough to let them know that, hey, this guy knows what we do and knows what our values are, and he's speaking to how he meets our values and what we accomplish as a company.
Awesome. Thank you. See, we have another one. I hear all the time that the transition from military to civilian is very different. Did recruiting help being so close to the civilian sector? Also, I've heard that from some that they run over their competitors being a successful recruiter. What's your take on that?
I would say yes. to an extent, right? You know, a lot of times the recruiters in the civilian world are young kids that they're just hiring right out of college that, you know, they're like, hey, we can train this individual to recruit. And most of them really suck at it, right? Just like any rookie. Any rookie, you know, unless you're just a superstar right out of school, most rookies suck at recruiting, right? So they're just block checking. I'm checking these resumes and I'm going, here's 4 people that match at 95% or higher. Do you want them or not? And then hiring manager will look at it and go, I only want to talk to these 2, find me 2 more. Right. Because of that they want to hold 4 interviews. I don't know why 4 is the number, but 4 was always the number with every company that I ever worked with. You know, you want to get to the point where you're one of those top 4. Yes, it can help a little bit because you're used to speaking with civilians, right? You're used to speaking to whether it's school counselors or college professionals or folks at hospitals if you're an HP recruiter. So you're used to kind of dealing with that lingo. Folks that didn't go into recruiting and get rid of the acronyms, they speak in acronyms. They like to put acronyms all over their resumes. And to a civilian that has never been in the military, it's like trying to read Spanish. They have no idea what you're talking about, right? So that's another piece for the resume is you want to give a civilian equivalent term for a military term, unless you're applying to a company that's looking for people for their military experience, right? So for example, they gave me a job where I was trying to hire drone pilots that could only have ever done that job in the Army. That was simple, right? They could keep their resume as Army as they wanted because it's Army people who did that job that were looking at it, and you want it to be that, right? You want it to match what they're looking for. But if you're trying to become a recruiting manager in a certain industry that you've never worked in before, then you want to try to tailor your wording to how you would meet that industry. Using, for example, flight chief. They have no idea what flight chief means. That is a recruiting manager, right? So you want to, I don't think you change all the terms to just civilian terms. I think you put the military term and then in parentheses, you put the civilian equivalent next to it, right? To me, that's the proper way to do it. And don't fluff it. Okay. A lot of folks love to fluff the crap out of their resume and it'll show through. All right. They'll figure it out really quick. And then that'll really hurt your chances of landing that job. If you're honest up front and humble with it up front, and then they interview you and realize, man, this guy's actually qualified for a higher level position than what he's applying for, they may offer you that higher level position. But if you tout yourself as this person who's way up here, and in actuality, for what they're looking for, you're actually down here, then more than likely they're just going to move on from you. Okay. And another big important piece to remember about these applicant tracking systems is they have a button in there that a lot of recruiters like to use, and it's called automatically decline previous applicants. And the reason that they have that is people will apply to the same job 5, 6, 7, 10 times. And what you don't want to have is to, or have to do as a recruiter, is review the same resume over and over again. So a lot of folks will deny that. And the thought process on it is, well, if my hiring manager didn't want to hire this individual before, why would they want to hire him again? So I don't even want to spend the time reviewing that. And so that's why you don't apply to 100 jobs, right? If you apply to 100 jobs and you applied to these jobs over here and you were 10 or 15 down, they were 10 or 15 down your list of priorities, and you took a job up here, and then you decide, hey, I want to move on to another company, and you apply to that company, even if you're applying for a different job, it's still going to see you as a previous applicant. And if they click that button, they're never going to see your resume. So be strategic and smart about the jobs that you apply for, and don't overdo it, right? Because you could end up screwing yourself out of a job at a company later on because you got a recruiter who doesn't want to review the same resume 3 or 4 times and they click that button. Okay. And then the other half of the question was, they run over their competitors being a successful recruiter. Absolutely. It was the easiest. FusionCell was the easiest job I ever had in my life. And it blew people away in that company who had never, like the upper leadership had never worked with military recruiters before. The CEO of the company ran a large medical recruiting company called Medicus out of Boston or the New Hampshire area there. Huge company, grew it from the ground up, super successful recruiter, guy really knew his stuff, and I got to learn a lot from him. But he was blown away. The first day he gave me a job, within about 2.5 hours, I had 5 qualified applicants submitted to the company. And he was like, holy crap, dude, 2.5 hours? That's all it took you? And I was like, yeah, it was actually super easy because we used LinkedIn Recruiter, right? And it was, I mean, all I had to do was search people that met the requirements call them up and they were like, yeah, I'm looking for a job. And then we would talk about the job and they would submit the stuff. So it was super easy. And it blew his mind. So there was me, and then Frank Hitchcock's in that company, Radek Jashelski's in that company, 3 guys that were all pro soups in AFRS. And we were the recruiters for this company. So not only were we really good at recruiting, but we had a lot of experience at it, and we had a lot of drive, and we worked with that sense of urgency. And we became the biggest selling point for Fusion Cell. When they would go to companies and they would talk to them about using Fusion Cell to find their positions, they would talk about their recruiters and how good we were. So yeah, absolutely, you will blow away 90% of your competition. However, you got to also understand that you may not have industry experience. You're going to have a lot of learning to do. You're going to have to learn how companies hire, what the priorities of the hiring managers are, go beyond just the job description and figure out, okay, what kind of person are you looking for, and be able to dig for those things. But we have a lot of really good training and really good experience as Air Force recruiters that's going to serve you extremely well in the civilian world.
Awesome. All great advice. I have an entirely new perspective. This is just a comment from our VP. Awesome information. I have entirely new perspective on prepping for civilian life. Thank you. Did you do SkillBridge? If so, was it helpful in getting the position?
So yes, I did SkillBridge. Being the 330th Pro Soup, it took a lot of convincing to get my commander to let me do any SkillBridge time. But the good thing was I had Rich Guerin there, with a stripe on and ready to take my position. So I was able to convince my commander that I would mentor him and allow him to take over the role and kind of watch him and make sure he was doing things the right way. Even though a lot of people argue that I didn't do anything the right way, which is, who cares? It's over now and I'm out. But yes, I did. I only did 2 months of it though. I didn't do the full 180 days, but yeah, it was definitely beneficial. That 2 months. So the company has to build a full training plan and get that approved through the SkillBridge coordinator. So you're going to get really good training. You're still earning your paycheck while you're there, which is great. You get to show them what you're made of. So yeah, it can be very, very beneficial in just that adapting to a new place thing. Imagine as a new flight chief in a location, if you got 2 to 6 months to just sit there and be trained and not actually be responsible for results, how well that would help you transition into being a flight chief. It really does help a lot.
Awesome. Another one, what do you wish you would have known prior to your transition? What do you wish you would have
talked to myself? What I just told you, I wish I'd have known. I kind of went at it with this really detailed resume that I thought everybody was going to be wowed by, and wasn't getting any calls back, and was like, what in the world is going on here? So I started talking to some friends that had landed some jobs, and I was going to do my SkillBridge with the company that does the development for the Air Force, T3I. I was already approved for that. They were actually looking at me to be the head of this new program that they were submitting a contract to the Air Force for. So it was going to be this natural transition. I would do SkillBridge with them, and then once I was out of that, I would be running this program on the civilian side for the 330th. Well, that fell apart. That never worked out. And so I had to make a decision. Do I still do my SkillBridge with T3I, being probably the only person in the entire company that's not a special operator, without a idea of if there's even a position for me at the end of it, or do I look for something else? And I decided to look for something else. And that was when I ended up talking to Radek Jashelski at a Fusion Cell. First thing he did was help me with my resume, help me with building my LinkedIn profile the proper way, and giving me advice on that. And then he convinced me to do the SkillBridge with them. And it was an awesome decision. And then all the training that I got and everything that I learned and just told you guys about, I learned during SkillBridge and through my time with Fusion Cell. Had I known those things prior and was able to spend a good 1.5 to 2 years building my network and, squaring away a really good resume and all these different things that I just told you, I probably would have went a much different route with my civilian career right after the military. So yeah, I wish I'd have known all the things I just told you guys.
Awesome. Well, I got to be honest. This is definitely one of the best briefings I've ever received for transitioning out of the military. The tips that you gave, the personal experience, it was it was definitely helpful. I think that a lot of people that watch this are going to gain, and honestly, you're helping their entire future, because there's a lot of stuff in here that's people aren't going to have to go through the same challenges that you did. So on behalf of our entire top three council, I definitely want to thank you for taking the time to come back and speak to us on this.
Awesome. Yeah, you're absolutely welcome. I'm glad I got the opportunity to do it. Anytime I get a chance to help out my former AFRS brothers and sisters, I'm all about it. And I continue to help them now. So if anybody's getting orders to San Antonio, man, hit your boy up. I'll help you find a house, and I'll take really good care of you. And I also do the Homes for Heroes program, which gives you 25% of my commission back to you in your pocket. So help you out as much as I can, guys.
Awesome. And if you want, you can plug your info in the comment section. That way, if folks didn't get it on social media and they're on here now, they can kind of save it in their phone or whatever.
Sure thing, man. Appreciate you guys.
Awesome. Thank you. With that, I'm going to transition into our general membership meeting. I'm going to turn it over to our president, Sergeant Weinberg, for president comments. Over to you, sir.
Hey, everyone. So this is was probably one of the best briefings we've had this year. I hope everybody goes back and watches this and rewatches it. We will post it to our social media. I truly believe that there is some really amazing information in this that will help all of us transition, because we're all going to take the uniform off one day, as much as we love wearing it. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. Just like Sergeant Parsons said. So general membership wise, we only have 2 months left of this year. Talk about going fast. We are going to have and I'm not going to speak too much on this. There's a PES coming up, and I know we announced that last month. And I'll let one of the other guys talk about that. But really what I want to say is thank you to the committees, to the leadership team, to the executive council. We have a chat group, and we chat daily. We are in constant communication. This was an amazing year. We grew our membership just like we wanted to. We achieved the goals that we did. We have 1 full month left, really. I just want to say thank you, because the team is what's awesome about this too. So you guys rock. And if one of us couldn't step in or step up, one of you guys stepped in and took the reins and ran with it. So it was really awesome to see all of that. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it back to you, Sergeant Parson, to keep this meeting moving. We are already 40 minutes into it. So.
All right. Well, I won't take up too much time. One thing that I do want to announce, big information, we are going to start receiving and requesting nominations for the next council. So I'm going to send an email out this week requesting nominations. We will start the voting in April. Only paid members are eligible to be a council member, and only paid members are eligible to vote for council members. So this is going to be through email. I know that sometimes social media makes things a little bit easier as far as just kind of clicking a vote button, but we do want to keep the integrity of our council election. So we're going to maintain the same way we did it last year. So keep an eye out for that email. I do want to give Sergeant Holobar from the awards committee an opportunity to give any sort of updates from the awards committee before we move any further.
Hey everybody, it's Sergeant Holobar for the awards committee. So we wrapped up this last board. The hardware was sent out to the winners this past week. So we'll have one more board for this council as the transition. Sergeant Prouty will be heading that up, and those nominations should be due the 16th of April. So you can start working on those for our 2 awards, the individual and the team awards. If you got any questions, feel free to hit me up or Sergeant Prouty. That's all I got.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. And, as always, we're open to feedback for all of our programs. Anything that you guys see that we're doing that you want us to continue or you think is not value added, please let us know. We plan on having a good handoff to the next council. The goal is to have our nominees voted on the first week of April and have them selected prior to our PES, kind of keep them involved in that process. We are looking at the 20th of April the 20th through the 22nd for our professional enhancement seminar. So if you have any ideas for that, if you want to get involved, please reach out to any of our council members or committee members, and we can assist you with that. Sergeant Carpenter, our secretary, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, I think you hit everything on the head, so we're good.
Perfect. What about you, VP? Sergeant Walker, you still on?
I'm on. No, you covered it all. Just wanted to echo what you all said. I think that was a great mentorship meeting. When we all started this year, we all sat down and said that we wanted to be able to open different doors for everybody. And I think that the civilian perspective that he said, giving us a timeline of when to start preparing and all the advice he said was spot on. So hopefully everybody tunes into this on social media and everyone can gain something from it. Looking forward to our folks, our members nominating other folks, and we can get a great, strong team for next year to keep this organization running.
Hey, I got one last thing. I'm sorry. I just want to hit up that we're going to have both Chief Master Sergeant Katie McCool, who's the 5th Air Force Command Chief. She's a 3-time command chief, and her husband, retired Chief Master Sergeant Chris McCool. They're going to be talking to us on the 17th of March at 8 in the morning. I know that's early, but they're in Japan, so it's late for them. But that's going to be a really good brief. We're going to talk about what did I give her for talking points? How they took their recruiting skills that they've learned over the years to transition them along different paths. Both very successful, but they both had very different paths. One going out of recruiting and one staying in recruiting. And then some leadership principles that they have used and lived by, maybe something that other people are not talking about that maybe they should be talking about that will help us. And then also, how do they fit work-life balance in, 2 chiefs working at very high levels, and also, having kids and everything at home. That's a busy schedule to keep track of, and a lot of things going on there. So, but they're going to talk about those 3 items. So that's going to be a really good deal. So get your coffee up early on the 17th, and we'll see you then.
Awesome. Great plug. Thanks for remembering that. That's anytime we can hear from a command chief, that's a great opportunity. Obviously their schedules are very busy, so trying to maneuver around those. We've got some big plans coming for some other potential command chiefs that we're trying to get for the future. That might be something that rolls into the next council, but tune in. We got to learn what's going on across this Air Force, not just what affects us in AFRS, because it's going to affect the way we recruit. It's going to affect the future airmen that we are recruiting. So please tune into that. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to the Prez one last time for his closing remarks before we close.
All right, awesome. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to Chief McCool's presentation. Chief Chris McCool was my recruiter school instructor, so it'll be interesting. Other than that, I guess I dated myself there too. Other than that, great meeting, awesome information. I hope everybody tunes in and watches this on Facebook. It will be posted to our social media and YouTube pages. I recommend to close.
All right, motion to close. Seconded. All right, with that, we're going to close our March meeting, and we will see you all here in about 2 weeks for Chief McCool's. Y'all have a great day.